Hey, good morning. It's Rob, and my hometown of Oak Park, Michigan has been in the news recently. Always surprising to hear my hometown mentioned on national TV. It's because a book recently came out called Theater Kid, written by Jeffrey Seller, one of the more famous and successful residents of Oak Park, at least around the time when I lived there. Jeffrey Seller is a very well-known Broadway producer. He produced such productions as Rent and Hamilton, huge box office smashes that have generated, of course, billions of dollars. So a super successful guy. He was 2 years ahead of me in school. This is his yearbook right here, the 1982 Revoir. He was also, I think, the editor of this yearbook. He was involved in the radio station. I was involved in the radio station, but he was kind of leaving as I was coming in. So I knew of him. I knew who he was. We were two Jewish kids from Oak Park. We were probably in the same circles, during different times. But, I didn't know him all that well. 2 years is a long time in high school years. Anyway, so he's all over this yearbook, like I said. This is the page for the play they did that year, The Fantastics. There is Jeffrey Seller right there and Isolde Trachtenberg. There's Mark Lempert, by the way. There he is down there. There's the cast of The Fantastics. And I remember seeing that play that year. And right here, I kind of got a kick out of this. Here's the picture of Jeffrey working on the yearbook. And what is he wearing? Well, of course, his official Oak Park High School ID badge. This was a security measure. Do I look the same? Yeah, pretty much. This was a security measure that they implemented because kids from other schools were coming into our school and doing drug deals and stuff. So we would have to wear these ID badges every day, and they would, call down the hall and they'd say, "Disner, where's your ID badge?" I'm like, "Yeah, you already know who I am." Anyway, so I remember Jeffrey Seller from, here he is again. In the senior mock elections, he is right there, most active. All right, but like I said, I remember him being around the school and have known for a while about his success. I mean, I am not particularly into, Broadway plays, productions, whatever, so I knew he was a very famous, successful guy, but until I read his book last week, I didn't really know the full extent of it or whatever. But anyway, he's been on TV being interviewed about this book. And the reason why I wanted to come on here today and make this video is he mentions, matter of fact, the first two words of the book, something called Cardboard Village. Now, Cardboard Village, that was a term that I remember hearing a lot growing up. I don't know that I specifically knew what it was. I just knew it was like houses in our city that were in this one particular area that I guess weren't as nice, like where the poorer people lived or whatever, the poorer people. Oak Park, Michigan was a very working class, middle class town. We did not have super rich, fancy people in our school. Kids did not get Porsches, when they turned 16 or anything like that. I mean, the house I grew up in was pretty typical, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, maybe 1,500 square feet. We did have a basement, though, and that's one thing Jeffrey Seller mentions is these homes in this area that was colloquially known as Cardboard Village. They didn't even have basements, which, doesn't sound like that big of a deal, except we have a lot of tornadoes in Michigan. I remember growing up many times having tornado drills in the school and, tornado warnings, and you'd have to get in your house and go down the basement. Well, those houses didn't even have basements. So, it was just an area where, houses were cheaper. They were, not constructed, I guess, as well as the brick home that I grew up in. They were basically, wood frame homes with siding or whatever, maybe 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, no basement. And so that's the area he's talking about in Oak Park that he grew up in. He was embarrassed to be there. They had called it, this derogatory name, Cardboard Village, because the homes were not that nice or whatever. And he was constantly in fear of being discovered that he lived in this area. Now, I heard that term a lot growing up. I don't think I really kind of knew which area of the city they were talking about. I mean, I guess I knew a couple people. I remember going to band practice at some guy's house once, and they said, "Oh, he lived in the village." Now, it wasn't like there was a sign or whatever. It was just a name that people called this general area of our city, Oak Park, Michigan. Anyway, so we're going to flip over to Google Maps here, and I'll kind of show you what this area, I hate to keep saying the name because it is not a nice name. I don't know if it is still used. Again, to me, the area looked like, not too dissimilar to Smyrna, Georgia, which is an area that I previously lived in 10 years ago when I first moved here. And, Oak Park is a nice, friendly, tree-lined city. It has a park right in the middle that it is famous for. We used to call it the Oak Park Park. It was renamed the Shepherd Park after we had a mayor who passed away, David Shepherd. And there's a big sledding hill. We had miniature golf. There was an ice arena, which I believe is just closing up now, unfortunately. There was a pool, and there was a summer camp there, shelters. We'd have concerts in the park. So it's a nice, really, family, oriented city. And anyway, yeah, so let's get on to Google Earth, and we'll see what this area looks like. All right, and so this is a typical home in the area that Jeffrey Seller referred to as Cardboard Village, which is a disparaging term, of course, in Oak Park, Michigan. And you can see it's just homes with siding and single-level homes, no basements, maybe 2-bedroom, 1-bath, that kind of a thing. You can see the homes are, pretty close together. They're not on big pieces of land or anything like that, but still the neighborhood looks, perfectly acceptable to me. This was from, I think, 2020, a few years ago on Google Earth. And you can just see, nice tree-lined streets. And this is basically the area that Jeffrey is describing in his book. So in the book, he gives the address of the home that he lived in this area, and the address is a made-up street, and the address is not correct. But if you're, a person from Oak Park, it's not disguised that well. It was pretty easy to figure out which home was his in this area, and I looked it up. But again, he doesn't live there or anything. I'm not going to put it on here, but it's basically in this area here, and this is the area he's describing in his book that he was so embarrassed to live in, and where the poor kids lived, etc. So I just thought, hey, if you read the book and you were curious about what this area looked like, what it was, where it was, well, hey, I'd show you a little bit of the, imagery that you can find on Google Earth by just, looking around in this area. And that really was the whole intention of this video. You're interested in Jeffrey Seller just to see the kind of area he grew up in, his upbringing, where he came from. I suspect if his book does well that they'll probably make, a Broadway play called Cardboard Village based on, his upbringing and everything. So we'll see if that comes to pass.